Hey, everybody. This is the first part of the penultimate lecture. We've covered quite a bit of things, and hopefully this will lead us to some new venues, new understandings about what we can expect moving forward. It should be a little bit more fun than some of the depressing lectures in the past couple of days. Okay. So we're going to start off with a nice discussion of therapy versus enhancement, which is a debate in bioethics, how to distinguish when something is just getting you up to baseline versus providing some sort of enhancement above that. And there are a variety of views on this. So we'll just problematize the question rather than take you into the deep literature. Then we're going to talk about bioengineering, and a lot of this is going to resonate with the discussion of geoengineering from the climate change section. So try to keep in mind how some of those arguments apply here, and vice versa. I'll try to point those out as well. And then we're going to go on to some meta principles with respect to thinking about bioengineering. And this will be a lot of the same arguments, but given some broad overarching theoretical framework. That'll make more sense when you get there. And lastly, we're going to wrap up with this debate between the people that think that some of those arguments that we gave for technological change are good and ones that we gave are bad. So basically, we'll see different positions on this broad issue. Okay, so let's start off with this big, broad question. What is human enhancement? So I wear glasses, right? They're a big enough prescription that if I didn't wear glasses or contacts, I would struggle with my daily life. I also, I don't know, I wear a hat sometimes, which makes me look really nifty and really cool. And maybe gives me the proportional powers of a leprechaun or something. I don't know. So, okay, you say, all right, are glasses therapy or are they enhancement? Well, when you give me the glasses, it seems like they're therapy, right? They're biomedical interventions to reduce a human disability, namely poor eyesight, to improve the function to what is necessary for typical health, in this case, eyesight. On the other hand, the hat, it's a biomedical intervention. Well, it's an intervention of some sort, used to improve human form beyond what is necessary to restore or sustain health. It seems like there's a nice, clear division here. And I think if you are interested in this division, there are a lot of papers, there's entire edited volumes on this issue. It gets a lot more complex and murky once you start thinking about specific cases where, for example, all of the population has something that might be considered a disability, or everybody undertakes an enhancement, in which case not doing it is sort of like giving yourself some sort of reduction in form or function. We've also been talking about health span, mind, and society. So there was an entire separate lecture on mind and society. I put that at the beginning of this series, right after bioethics. And that's because I think there's a lot that we learned from that was necessary for us to understand eugenics, and that we needed to talk about eugenics before we talked about human genetic modification. So we covered the first couple of parts before, and now we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about health span. Basically, you might think about helping the human body, the human mind, or a human society. And you might compare all of these, right? So There are therapies for the body. We talked about glasses. There's enhancements, steroids, right? There's a reason we have rules against using enhancements for athletic competitions. But then those get tricky once we deal with individual cases. There are therapies that can be used there are drugs that can be used to alter your state of mind. Some people use those exact same drugs as enhancements, right? Um, so the distinction might be, in some cases, between the individual person that's doing them. And then there's therapy that you can give to society, um, like this stimulus check that everybody's getting, or most of you are going to get. Well, many of you will get. That seems to be like trying to back up the United States, trying to keep the economy doing well. You might also imagine stimuluses that make it go into overdrive when it's going normally, right? Or other technological interventions that affect the scope of society. Okay, so that was a bunch of distinctions. And it might help to pause a little bit and run them through in your head. Make sure that you understand that you could have therapies and enhancements for our bodies, our minds, or our societies. And then there's another distinction to be made here. On one extreme is permanent interventions, and the other is temporary interventions. So a permanent one makes sense. That is an intervention that just fundamentally changes the person. So, removal of a limb, or transplanting an organ, or something permanent. To some extent, tattoos, but maybe not piercings. Temporary changes are things like you do every day or regularly. So you've got to have some upkeep for your medications. You can't just do it once and then be done with them. Stable changes are the ones that are a little bit trickier, but those you can think of a couple of examples if you really work at it, right? So there are some changes that you can make that you can leave there, right? You can cap a tooth, or you can splinter an arm if it's broken, and as long as you leave it, it's fine. But you can undo it if you want it, if you really really wanted to. So you can add a piercing, and it's permanent as long as you keep it healthy. But if you remove it, eventually it can the piercing could close up. So, all right. And again, you can do this exact same thing. You can think of all of the ways of intervening that are permanent, stable, temporary, and they can apply to societies, bodies, and mind, whatever. So the point is, these are distinctions that we're going to use. So wrestle with them for a bit, because I'm going to reference them moving forward. Think about them. Okay. So this discussion is about human enhancement. How it might even be possible to enhance will fundamentally change the nature of the discussion, right? So I'm going to go through a couple of different possibilities, and then we're going to wrap up this video. So usually body enhancements are easy to think about. You can think about some prosthetics. You can think about braces, tattoos, mutilations, that kind of thing. And these, every time I talk about this, I ask people about their tattoos, and everybody's super excited to show me theirs. So we like modification. And that's why you'll see me switch back and forth between language of enhancement and modification, because I think one person's enhancement might be another person's therapy, one person's modification might be another person's enhancements, and all around. So yeah, it seems like you can modify your body in a variety of ways, and we do, and we might be able to modify it more. Enhancing your mind, I mean, I guess we take drugs for that. I think about a lot of different examples of how you can enhance your mind. If you want to talk about what some of these people that we're going to discuss in the future videos want to discuss, they're thinking in terms of creating complete replicas of your mind, uploading your consciousness, so to speak. Whether that's plausible or not actually depends on your philosophy of mind, on your understanding of the nature of mind. And I don't want to talk about, functionalism versus all of these other views. If it turns out that our mind is just a bunch of functions, then yeah, sure, you can upload it. But people have disagreements with this, and you can learn all about those in philosophy of cognitive science or philosophy of mind. I'm teaching philosophy of cognitive science, Phil 434 in the fall. And then, okay, society. There are ways of affecting society. You can have public policy. You can have technology or ideas that just, for whatever reason, throughout their own merit, take over. Or you can have people actively trying to change the world, right? So in a sense, there's agents all around here, right? There's people that are trying to popularize a telephone when we're talking about revolutionary technology. But by and large, what makes revolutionary technologies or ideas successful is the quality of the ideas. Social movements, sometimes the sheer quality of the idea doesn't cause the change that the social movements want to see happen. You basically have to change hearts and minds. So you can see how personal will and personal effort make a big deal with respect to public policy and social movements in particular. And they're relevant to revolutionary ideas and technology, but those aren't the central defining features of them. So, okay, it's possible to make big interventions into the mind, for example. And we've talked about some of these before. It's possible to make big modifications of emotions. And we've talked about antipsychotics. We talked about a couple of these, but not in great detail. In the rest of these videos, we'll talk about modifications to the body. I think that those can be particularly interesting. They reveal some philosophical issues that are interesting. And really, all of the previous lectures have been discussions of revolutionary ideas of society. All right. See you in the next video.